this amazing poet and writer and the visionary. Really, Janet has, I don't know, I can't put it all into words as well as she can. So we're going to let her take it away and talk to us from her book. She's reading from her book, Shattering the Glass Ceiling. So she asked me, you know, should I do this or that? And I said, let's focus on women's issues. Women's issues. And somewhere around here, I brought one thing I brought with me. The one prop I brought with me today was a coat hanger. It's my visual for
perfect.
And like, where did I put that hanger? It must have.
I thought your poem talking about the beauty of woman was a perfect lead-in for.
Oh, thank you
for doing that. Thank you very much. And yeah, a press in India asked to do a book of mine, and they did one last year, but the one from this year, Johnson book, is called Shattering the Glass Ceiling.
There's the hanger.
Oh, we've got the hanger. Perfect. Perfect. Sorry, this is so fluid, but perfect.
It's a visual.
So I'm going to put the hanging thing. So I picked some stuff out. I was going to read them for you, a bunch of different ones. That's what it's for. We got to get the hanger out, man.
There's a visual.
Here's a nice visual for you. The first one's called Escaping Rapeugees. I was hoping the world for women was turning the corner, and that the world may finally have evolved to respect us women. How silly of me. Remember, girls, hold your own when alone at night, and don't assume if men give you drinks it's just because they're nice. Some men are good. I know it's true, but that doesn't mean the battle is over and that you can feel safe. Watch your back. Walk fast. Check over your shoulder. You still work harder for less pay than men, and the men probably still expect you to cook and clean for them, birth and raise their babies too, because that's your job, to do everything. And don't forget to smile. I mean, if you think that you are in the clear and have nothing to fear, you can be raped by people you know as well as strangers. Because keep in mind that Europeans now have a name for the Syrian and Muslim refugees they've taken in. Rapeugees. Because Muslim migrant mass sexual assaults seem to be the raping theme as far back as 2016. So, women, do you think you're safe? Think again. Because now we've learned that we can be raped for being nice. So, keep a vigilant eye and keep up the good work, ladies. This one seemed fitting for me personally. Objectifiable 2021. I've experienced it for I don't know how many years, men degrading women. When I was walking down the street today, a man in an ugly minivan stuck his head out of his window to holler for me. Wow. Lucky me. I'm still objectifiable. But don't worry, objectification transcends physical proximity. And I've lost my page. I have to find it again. Sorry, I just lost it. This is what I have for having 30 things in here. There we go. I apologize. But objectifying women can actually transcend the actual proximity, because it can even exist in post-coronavirus times, while many places are actually still closed. I was interviewed on a Chicago radio station when a man could still post on a YouTube video that, quote, "I would like to see you wearing something a bit more revealing because you've got a nice rack."
Oi!
Oi, exactly. You've got a nice rack. Because yes, lucky us, being as objectifiable as we all are, female objectification transcends the internet, yes. Lucky us. Hey, do you need a vibe? You know what we're gonna do, right? This is an interesting one because different species and stuff. And this way I've got a variety of poems in this one. This one's called Killing, Loving, and the Power of Women. You can't help but love the look of the praying mantis. The unique way it moves is utterly fascinating to the eye. But I had no idea one of the reasons I could fall in love with a praying mantis was precisely because the woman kills her mate during or just after they finish their mating business. Because really, what do you need them around for anyway after you got yours? And the beauty of this kind of conquest is that it happens across species, and it happens from insects to animals too. Some black widow spiders are known to kill their postcoital mates. Female spiders even have larger venom sacs. And the thing is, female bees and wasps have the stingers, not the males. Yeah, you're perfectly right. Those male worker drone bees don't even have stingers. And one female bee is chosen as to be, when they were young, to be queen, and then is raised by male bees until she grows long. Female honeybees call the shots in their caste system matriarchy in a female-centered hive where the males only serve for sexual reproduction. Also, male insects and animals are brightly colored and stand out to be better looking, to attract the females. And the females stay at home and take care of what's theirs. Even female octopi strangle their male mates when the deed is done. And the female lion does the majority of the hunting for its pride, sometimes not even sharing their food. Female bonobos and chimpanzees are the top of the group's social pyramid, the top of that matriarchal society. And get this, in many societies of the anglerfish, the male, which is smaller, literally attaches himself to a woman. And get this, starts to atrophy until she is ready to use it for reproductive needs. If the male anglerfish doesn't find a female, he will literally die. So I don't know how it got so messed up with us humans. We women have always been the ones with the power, and now we fight an uphill battle because we've been thought of as less than human. Tell that to Nefertiti or Pharaoh Cleopatra is all I can think. Because somewhere along the line, men decided to take over the world, and we only gave them a home, gave them family and offspring to raise and flourish, in the male's name, no less. And what's our thanks? For stopping killing you men. You've taken our humanity. And for millennia, we fight for any rights back. And sorry, but I don't know who made this deal. I didn't agree to it, so I want my money back. This is a small section from a longer poem, In the Air. Have you ever noticed that the air isn't normal in a normal airplane? I mean, there's just something different about the air in the cabin. It's different. It's got a smell to it. That's the only way I can describe it. A smell of all these people, and maybe not going places, but getting away as fast as they can. Once, I was on a flight back from DC. A flight attendant came by, a stack of magazines in her hand, Time, Newsweek, Business Week, and I stopped her, asking what magazine she had. And she looked at me and replied,
"Message for you, son."
"Oh, these magazines are for men." This is a true story. I asked her again, "What magazines do you have?" I had already read Time, so I took Newsweek. It's crazy. It's just giving away. I'm like, oh, these magazines are for that. In this book, I've got a section of poems that relate to different events, and some of those things could be found in every event of the year. I think I toured with the first half of the year, the second half of the year. All of the poems that I'm going to read that are event poems are also in this book, so I'm just showing it off every event of the year. And I think it's funny with these two books, these covers look like they're leather covers and make me vegetarian, and I just find that rightly humorous. Anywho, but some of these I'm sharing with you are events poems for different stories about things that relate to different days of the year. This one was written on the 7th of November, the 1867 birthday of Marie Curie. So I got some science here. This one's called Open the Door for Us All. Open the Door for All. Born in Warsaw, the youngest of 5, she did well in school, but it didn't matter when women were not allowed higher education. Undeterred, she even made deals with professors to work there for free so she could also illegally go to school before schooling in Paris. where she found her love in Pierre. They married. They gave each other bicycles as wedding presents, while she wore a black dress for her wedding, so that dirt wouldn't show when she went back to work. And work she did, separately from Pierre, until she discovered radioactivity, and Pierre put his pride aside and worked to help his wife. After his accidental death, it was a heartbreaking loss for her, but she took over his teaching post, making her Sorbonne's first female professor. She discovered radioactivity, but also a new element named for her home country. And in World War II, she developed portable X-ray devices that they nicknamed Little Curies. The Great War didn't get her, but her love for her studies did, as working with radiation so long and keeping vials of radium in her lab pockets daily would be too much, even for her genius. People truly admire Albert Einstein, whom she worked with, but for women, and for all of humankind, this woman faced more obstacles than most, and opened the door for all. And I think somebody has a book of mine that it might be in that periodic table book as well. Element number 109. This was written on the 29th of August for the 1980 date of the discovery of element 109 Meitnerium. It was discovered. This is Meitnerium open for all we women must do. Just so you can show it off. There it is. It doesn't have an image though, so it's sad. But yay, book! And it's Twitter length, so it's short. One woman fought a system that didn't allow her schooling. She worked as a scientist. She co-discovered nuclear fission. Nazi Germany then went for her because she escaped with her life. She taught us all we can always search and discover, for this learning and growing is what all we women must do. It's an amazing story to hear about Meitnerium. I was just one of those going through the elements. I'm like, what? I mean, when they get to a point they're available for like nanoseconds. You know, I'm like, why? What is Meitnerium? And this woman lies Meitner is just amazing. So, anyway, I'll go to another one that actually was written on the 21st of November for the 1929 birthday of feminist writer Marilyn French. This is called Extension of Him. When I got married, I thought about my having to take my husband's last name and use it as my own, destroying my own history, and by now calling myself an extension of him. Well, I don't know if I really thought that, but after I almost lost my own life and still spent my time trying to piece together who I was, I asked him, since the literary world knew me with my family name, the name of my father, born in 1929, if he was okay with me not changing my name. He was fine with it, of course. But looking back, it makes me think of the many ways women have to change who they are to be a supplicant to man. And, of course, if we women want to have a career, that's fine. But many men still think that women should cook and clean, and not only birth, but also raise their kids. It's so much for us women feeling like we can do it all on our own, while we are still expected to do more work for less pay and be happy for the opportunity in this patriarchal society. For the oppression of women is the underlying current in any male-dominated culture. Wait, who am I kidding? It's the underlying current in any culture. Let's not fool ourselves. Because I know that for years I've worked as an acquaintance rate workshop facilitator, which made me a counselor and a sounding board for more women than I can remember. Since 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted by the time they leave college, make that number 1 in 3 women over the course of their lives. Women like your sister, your mother, your daughter, just to name a few. But in our society, all women have been raped when men rape women with their eyes, their laws, and their codes. Because women have been denied inclusion in history, we have been denied our history, which denies us our present and even a real future. We can carefully chronicle the history of oppression, and seclusion, and exclusion. We can praise the strides we've made despite the man-made barricades that permeate every aspect of our female lives, while remembering the strides we still must take against all odds. Because we're strong creatures, you know, smiling demurely while we take care of others. well, getting ahead ourselves. It's our job, but we've known that all along, and we can take it all on without batting an eyelash, with or without makeup. And whether or not we're reminded regularly of all we fight against in our battles to be good, we feel all the things men have historically imposed upon us, whether or not we're told. All these obstacles are always permanently burned in the backs of our brains, and we still seem to do well, despite those pains the men ingrain in us. So just realize that if you ever notice how well any woman is done, know that everything was accomplished despite that big bully in the room always breathing over her shoulder. For all that hot air breathed down by man reminds us that we can and still beat Goliath. Events poems. This one was written on the 26th of August. For the 1920 date, the U.S. 19th Amendment was certified, giving women a right to vote.
Yay!
Yay! All right. This one's called Keep Looking Happy. Women, in theory, should feel pleased when we win battles for our rights. So whatever women do, you keep looking happy. And that's what we women have to do in this eternal uphill battle. When this country was founded, it was land-owning white men who voted. 50 years before we women gained that right, white men decided that black men once slaves, or descendants of slaves, black men once considered 3/5 of a person, they got the right to vote 50 years before us women. I get it. I shouldn't be so pessimistic. I shouldn't look so negatively at battles we've had to fight so hard to win. I shouldn't think that our only male options to vote for, they decide our fate and make personal choices for us women, and that we have to be happy enough to vote for. I understand. We've come a long way, baby. We women once couldn't attend college, even if we had such long history, preparing for your homes, your food, your children, understanding finances so much more explicitly than you. And yes, us women are running for offices, while we're still so underrepresented, and we still face that uphill climb. And yes, we'll keep voting. Thank you for that right now. Because before you know it, we'll have made some changes that you didn't see coming. Because really, when we're done, you'll see that laws the rest of the world agrees with, laws that treating women equally, treating women as equals, that kind of treatment isn't so unreasonable after all. Vacuum of Space on the 11th of October for the 1984 date, astronaut Catherine D. Sullivan, who aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, became the first American woman to perform a spacewalk. The men kept pushing that envelope. Of course, they had to be first. Because when you stop holding us back, we will surprise you with the power of our minds. And on a day like today, watch me do all that work. Watch me strap into that bulky spacesuit just to walk in the vacuum of space. Just so I, for once, will finally feel on my own and no longer feel like I'm under your thumb. This one is something that I had to include just for you guys here, because it was written after hearing about Chicago Tribune news reporter Maureen Dallas Watkins, who, after reporting about female murderers who dressed up, wore makeup, and styled their hair and acted feminine to get out of murder convictions, she then wrote a play about it, which is later adapted into the play Chicago. That was actually about, I was like, that's fascinating. So this is a short one. Voluptuous and intelligent too. Too many times, men treated me as if I didn't have a brain. They objectified me every chance they could take. I was thrown into their male-dominated den, but I learned fast. I had the brains, but I could also use what made men weak. You see, I wore mini skirts and plunging necklines and padded bras, and I learned how to I allowed men to adore until I could then show them a thing or two about being intelligent. This is one of the ones that I think I might have put online. I said I won't tell you the poem, but it has a translation in this book into Hindi as well. I think I read it once before leaving Chicago, and I'd like to share it with you because I don't think you've heard it. It's called Unmarried Women and Dead Bodies Everywhere. The Ganges River in India, the most sacred river to Hindus, is still religiously renowned. But on one day not too long ago, at a tributary of the Ganges River, they discovered 28 bodies. The locals first spotted the corpses when vultures surrounded those bodies as they piled up along the shore. Online news reports explained that the bodies may have been left there when families couldn't afford a burial. And at those same online news sources, lucky you can see video of dogs eating the flesh of the dead. But I was there. I read those newspapers as the Star of India came to me daily while locals discovered more bodies before they found 104. The local papers explained that this tradition of alpabra is a custom in some cultures. When unmarried women die, their bodies are dumped in the river. Unrecognizably decomposed, more and more bodies of unmarried women kept floating to the surface in just a few days in the sacred Ganges River. I kept looking for an explanation, and all I could think was that this river was supposed to be sacred, and I wondered if this was their effort to give these women a family in the afterlife, putting them in a river they call sacred. Because I know how they view women in India, cover their skins, that they don't talk back. Because even though women are treated like nothing by men there, they'd be less than nothing if they're not married. This is one that I read here on a feature 11 years ago. Which is why I'm including it. And I will not use the swears or bad words that are in it. But it starts with a quote from Pam via the internet that says, "Here's an addition for your degrading terminology for women list. In the construction field, they, men, have devised another form of measurement. When something is being lowered or fitted into place, they will often refer to an inch or two as up and down about a C-word hair." And then they would go so far as saying that there's increments of the thickness of how much could be from a blonde hair to a black hair. Why don't you dissect me? Take every single part of me and equate it with power tools, sports, and violence. Bang me, screw me, nail me, hammer me, bag me, jump me, shoot it in me. Maybe you can even score. If we're talking about measuring scales, what about the scales that define the way you treat us? On one end is the minor stuff, calling us baby and sugar, whistling as we walk by. But then move along the scale, get to the blonde jokes. Yes, they're so funny. Then how about a pinch in the rear at the office? Well, that's harmless enough. And while you're at it, porn movies and magazines. What harm can they do? And hey, women have always worked at home, so you should have all the jobs and get the better pay anyway. And since we're just your property, you can have your way with us wherever you want, because hey, you've been doing it in every other aspect of our repressed, oppressed lives. So rape us, smack us around, knock us down a flight of stairs. That's what we're here for. I don't know how to measure these things anymore. The best palette cleanser I could for the final poem. It's hard when there's so much ink and stuff.
Yeah.
This is toward the back of the book here, and it is titled, "Oh, She Was a Woman." She was a woman who thought too much. She was a woman who accomplished everything she set out to. She was a woman who wore a crown of thorns. She was a woman who was punished for things she had not done. She was a woman who was strong, who was beautiful, who was beaten down, and she got angry. She was a woman who would walk into a coworker's office, stand on a desk, and do the twist just to relieve corporate boredom. She was a woman who worked 18-hour days because she was a woman whose brain was always on. She was a woman who fought for her rights, and she was a woman who should not have been born. She was a woman who wrote poetry. She was a woman who believed in nothing but herself. And trust me, she deserved more. She was a woman who would jump on hotel beds every time she traveled and booked a room because it was hers, because she could. She was a woman who belched out loud. She laughed too hard. She swore too much, and she grew up too fast. She was a woman who worked on 8 different projects at once and still managed to get them all done on time. She was a woman who never lost control. She planned everything. She demanded perfection, and she always had the answers. She was a woman who raised the pitch of her voice when she was asking for something. She was a woman who never played drinking games because she never needed an excuse to drink. Because she could drink most men under the table. She loved dirty jokes, and she seldom crossed her legs. She was a woman who wanted to feel alive. She was a woman who could not eat something she could not kill. She wrote letters to the editor, and when that wasn't enough, she became an editor because she liked making waves. Because she was a woman who knew all too well that you only have one life to live. Don't do something because it's expected of you. Do it because you are a woman who knows what's right. That golden ring is almost in your grasp. You've got the brains, and believe it or not, you've got the brawn. So don't let anything stand in your way.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for
Actually, when the hell not?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you know, John said he wanted to come here on his birthday in March. He said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I'm like, I want to come back here. I want to come back here. So.
You're a June